Centrix Space during the Delhi Art Week. I'm Monica Jain, director of this gallery, and I'm very happy to welcome you to our gallery during this Instagram Live by MASH. Thank you MASH, and thank you Ms. Shalini Pasi for doing this. MASH is a wonderful platform for sending the word out and promoting Indian art across global platforms, and we're delighted to do this with you today. We're lucky to have 7-8 of our 11 artists who are exhibiting at this exhibition, and I'll be able to have this initiated into a conversation with all of the artists who will be able to talk about their own work. I'm starting with our gallery represented artist, Sangam Bankre. All of the artists are part of this show that I've curated. It's titled A Matter of Materials, and it really stems from the idea of materiality. In fact, I would say materials is what we discover when we discover civilization. What do we know about the past? What do we know about ourselves, about humanity? It's only through objects that are found. In every time there are objects discovered in different parts of the world. And so this idea of meaning making through materials and the forms that are given by the artists with these materials is integral to what we call culture, what we call us today, humanity today. So we're creating these, and I think with contemporary art it's important to show how close does it refer to who we are and how we think. So with Indian art, I mean, starting with Sangam Bankre, this is a work done in black marble and Makrana white marble. He references, I think historically, marble has been used as a material of, has been patronized by kings, by people who want to talk about how well their civilization or their kingdom has been doing. Across India, you will find this material used. Having said that, the reference to these forms, this sort of a movement in forms, is something we have seen for the last 1,000 years in India. I mean, we are a country of, the Chola bronzes. We are the country where temples, where, palaces have been carved to the hilt. Look at Mount Abu. The artist actually hails from Ahmedabad. So the work itself speaks of our traditions, our craft traditions, and how today they are being assimilated by contemporary Indian artists in and showcasing in Delhi galleries now. I'll introduce you now to the works of Neeraj Patel. He's an artist who works between Delhi and Baroda. Neeraj, would you like to talk about your work?
My previous works about the architectural spaces and those series of the work which is more about the landscape of industry and the distortion of the realities of the space.
Our next artist, Julius Das, is here from Bhubaneswar. Julius completed his bachelor's from BK College, Bhubaneswar, and then went on to do his master's from Siddhnadar University, SMU. He's here today to talk about his work. What I find very intriguing about his work is, of course, as an artist, he has so much to say about it. What I see is this idea of space, is this kind of an osmosis of thought, of materials, of multiple materials, and how they sort of generate and move towards this space. Julius? Back over to you.
Through my work, I'm talking about the present and how we understand the current time and now, and also it is a response to what kind of situation going on all around us, and it is about the citizenship and then sexuality and everything. And of course, it is about all those multiple interfaces, how it's meet, and then it's creating that space through different kind of art. So it's basically that. Thank you.
Prateek Rawat is an artist last 2 years. We see a sense of migration through his multi-layered forms. The paper itself is treated with layers and painted the way the traditional Varli paintings have been painted, and he has added this contemporary element to it, which talks about how people and consequently thoughts migrate from one place to another. Remember, this show is very powerful and very focused on the idea of vernacular, on the idea of regionality, because materials and accessibility of materials is an important part that we're trying to discover through this exhibition. We now come to the works of Harsha Durugadda. We curated a solo show of his works about 8 years ago, and I'm delighted to have him back exhibiting at my gallery. Harsha is based out of Hyderabad and has done some tremendous work also in Australia. He's got several awards. This is a particularly enthralling work in wood, and I would like Harsha to talk about this work.
Thanks, Monica. The work is titled Entwined, and the materiality is such an important aspect of this work because it is made out of layered wood. It's not a single monolith, whereas the process itself is the way the artwork is created. So for me, this work is called Entwined, and I'm inspired by this idea of the curling of leaves. So 2 years back, I moved to a farm space where I'm growing my own food. So being in close tandem with nature has pushed me to be more sensitized towards what nature does with time. You know, how leaves transform from what they are to what they become. They decimate. So in this process, when you dig, like say a small pit for a water pond, you find these layers, the geology, the mineral deposits of earth, and that's how these layers depict, and that's what they mean to me. And the scale is also very important for me, because I come from a family of stone sculptors where for us the statues are the important aspect in the heart of a temple, whereas the scale really impacts and it draws attention towards the sculpture, and that's why the scale is larger than life. It is trying to create a connection between the human presence and this body that has been created with the sculpture.
I'd like to introduce you to the works of Soham Raha. We've been exhibiting his work since the start of the pandemic, and we started with an online solo show of his in April 2020. This is a new body of work created specially for this show. If you notice, the format is unusual. He's primarily been working in linen canvas, but we started with this unusual, rather abstract form and breaking the boundaries of a rectangular canvas. So therefore, and Soham was really up to the challenge. He's been working between Delhi and Calcutta, and I'd love for him to talk about his work.
Thank you, Mash. Thank you, Monica, for giving me such a space for exhibiting the works. So basically, this was the first time I was working with this medium, and why I have chosen this form is that my work basically talks about this our life as an existence to that of cosmos. So when I think from the scratch, the first thing comes in my mind when I'm trying to capture a cosmos. So it comes, first thing which comes is an organic shape. So from that, what I thought of, I could make my canvas in that form, and then I could detail these forms. So mostly these are made up of natural pigments which I make, and with this acrylics. So also I've used these gold leaves over here and some sort of motifs of clouds. I really love to render clouds, which I learned from these Thang artists. So yeah, so this work is titled as In Search of Existence, where a man is sitting with this cloud embroidered shawl, or you can say a cloth, and he's thinking of this cosmos. And the interesting part of this work this time was, while I was working this, in recent times we find this James Webb Telescope images. So I was wondering the really detailed photographs of this. I was seeing these real detailed photographs, so I was trying to render this sort of images in this work.
We now come to the works of Pinaki Ranjan Mohanty, another one of our gallery represented artists. He actually hails from near Chilika, Lake Chilika in Orissa, and is deeply passionate about talking about the flora and the fauna and the effects of ecology in his region. He uses found materials from that area to talk about the story of these migratory birds. What is interesting is that each of these birds, while they are repetitive, they appear to be repetitive, they all are different. These are ones made in wood. He also works in ceramic. This particular installation is made up of these stones, which are also found stones from around Lake Chilika. And this sort of sends a message that while birds migrate, in fact humans migrate, there is a sense of home, and these birds want to take their home along with them. He's also will be showing at the Serendipity Art Festival in Goa this time with a massive art installation over there. He also has a sense of theatre, a sense of drama while putting up his works. I now introduce you to Richie Bhatia, and it would not be an overstatement to say that these works are absolutely delicious, because the inspiration of these works have come from her mother's kitchen during the pandemic, and you see beautiful drawings of donuts and of course wood sculptures which have sort of a sponginess of dough. Richie?
I would like to start by saying that these works found their inspiration or draw their root from my mother's kitchen and the time I spend with her while she's baking. And I was looking at the transition of this particular object, the cake, and how it is prepared in an intimate space of a kitchen, and how it goes on to transition from my mother's kitchen to a social setup. A social setup that also creates a sense of temporal memory, because this object, the cake, is time specific, but it does become like an object of importance in a social space. So I was looking at the transition of this object from one space to another, and I was also looking at the idea of how consuming and producing can be seen as a purpose within itself.
Check out the works of Valay Gada. At Centrix Space, we exhibited his works in 2015, and I'm glad to have his works back, especially for this show. Valay?
Hello.
What would you like to talk about your work for us?
So a lot of my works basically talk about the subject of urbanization and habitat destruction, and this small body of work actually was from when the pandemic sort of hit us initially, and all construction was shut down, and there were building sites just lying so barren, and how we heard of all these beautiful stories about sort of flora and fauna thriving because of this lack of movement and kind of reclaiming their spaces. So some of in terms of material, I've used these blocks of fiberglass which I've casted. I cast them in 2014, and sometimes, you want to sort of jump into ideas, and sometimes you need to sort of move back, step back, and you reflect on them. And I think this was the right time when I sort of, I thought that this is absolutely appropriate for these works. So it's brass and fiberglass and concrete which I've used in this.
I'd now like to introduce you to a very special artist who's here from Ladakh. I'm delighted to welcome Motu here, where he's talking about the life and materials, objects found in Ladakh that make their way from across the country, from China, from areas nearby, and the impact that they have, and how he very beautifully, sensitively talks about his works through his paintings. Motu?
Yes. Hi. This is the very recent study that I have been doing at my house. I was quite interested in this popular objects that has been arriving at home and how it slowly performs in the whole idea of modifying the cultural identity and also becomes part of the culture in time. So here I have used a sofa and a blanket which is there at my house, and how it becomes an alien object in some corner of the space, and meantime it slowly makes its way through within the house by performing its duty, and let the members of the house also arrive to what it allows. Yes.
Thank you, Mash, for doing this Instagram live for Centrix Space. This exhibition of ours is open till 30th September at our space in Basantpur, and we would love to have you here physically, all our viewers, to see it while the Delhi Art Week is on till the 31st of August, and then subsequently at our space throughout the month of September. Looking forward to seeing you all. Thank you again.